Hi, welcome to this where I talk at a screen or to a camera because I've got things I want to talk about. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm going to title this like the absolute state of OPR, mostly just because I think then I can just continue to do videos called the absolute state. I think that'll be pretty funny. It's funny to me, anyways. Mostly today, what I wanted to talk about is obviously the beta 3.5 beta that's ongoing, and then yeah, I guess also, I mean, we also have like the Kickstarter going at the moment, which is really cool. I'm probably going to get into that. I'm really glad that One Page Rules is finally doing some physical minis. Um, I think that is kind of important. Kind of sucks that even if you back now, like they're not going to be in stores until, was it March or May next year? Pretty sure it started with an M. But I've been trying to convince my local to get stuff in. I think they're going to, so that'll be awesome to actually have physical stuff on the walls when people come in and I'm like, this is One Page Rules, this is what you can buy. I'm, yeah, really looking forward to that. But outside of that, 3.5. I'm just going to have a little bitch about 3.5 now. Yeah. So we seem to be in One Page Rules. We've got these two, like the two very, we've got the political landscape of One Page Rules, the far left and the far right. I'm not sure which one you'd categorize which as, but on one side we've got people who just want it to be as easy as possible. They just want it to be basic, simple rules that you can teach someone. You roll a d6, you run at someone, or you shoot them. Done. Like that's the game. You want to be able to teach someone in like 5 seconds, stick to that one page of rules, and that's it. That's all they want from One Page Rules. They just want to be able to throw dice and have fun and make it as simple as possible to teach someone else. And as someone who has to teach people, yes, I also want that. On the other side, we've got, on the very other far side, people want to be able to port their entire Warhammer army in and have the exact same rule base that they've got from Warhammer and have it all being super complicated and super unique and all that sort of thing, which I can completely understand. There's, obviously we've got the army builder for that, so if people want to build and shape their own specific army, we have that, and in 3.5 there's going to be a lot more ability to even get something even more unique and specific. I'm a moderate in the political landscape that is the One Page Rules player base. I'm somewhere in the middle. Yes, need to teach people, so I want it to be as easy to teach people as possible. But also, the idea of unique skills and whatnot for each individual group, I don't think is a bad idea, and I don't think is really that hard. I mean, for instance, I like that there's simple rules and there's advanced rules at the moment, and when I teach people how to play the game, I immediately teach them how to do hybrid attacks. I think it's called an assault, which is you can charge or you can shoot and then charge in the same action for the same action, which makes hybrid units a lot better. When I'm teaching someone, it's very simple to go, hey, do you know how to charge? Cool. Do you know how to shoot? Cool. You can do both those things in this turn. That's not really it's in the advanced rulebook, but it doesn't have to be an advanced rule. Like, it's actually quite simple, and I think baked into the main game is a lot better than having it in its own separate thing over here that you don't play with. I haven't really gotten to some of the other stuff like Overwatch, and that's something which I really do want to start doing, because I think a lot of your more ranged-based groups, like this is for fantasy specifically, more ranged, like the elves and that sort of thing. Everyone's ranged in in your sci-fi games, so it doesn't matter as much. But yeah, range is a lot more expensive in fantasy, and I think having something that allows you to get a little bit more out of your range units would be better. But I haven't played with that rule specifically. Now, getting into the actual beta of 3.5, I was really looking forward to the idea of what was going to be unique in these factions. I'm going to talk specifically about my fantasy dwarves, which I guess is also my sci-fi dwarves to a degree. And in Grimdark, my Battle Brother Knights, because I really love my Knights. The fantasy dwarves used to have, much like most other groups, shielded, which means that they're carrying a shield and they get +1 to their defense rolls. So that means that even when someone has AP that would normally push you to a full 6, when you roll your dice, you get a 5-6 because you've got shields, +1. They've removed shields and they're giving dwarves sturdy, which is a +1 to defense roll. So now everyone has it, so it's not just people with shields, everyone gets it baked in. +1 to defense rolls. If you're shooting from 9 inches away, or over 9 inches away, or if you're charging from over 9 inches away. it's worse than shielded. So I mean, everyone gets it now, but it's still worse, and it's more complicated because now we have to check measurements and stuff. It's not just, oh, I'm shielded, I get +1. Thematically, I think it makes sense. Dwarves are sturdy, they're short, +1 makes sense. I know, I mean, obviously I play dwarves, so I'm going to be a bit biased. Having both, I don't think would have been that big of an issue. Having +1 to your defense rolls while being pretty decent, I don't think is going to be as big of a reason to shoot from within 9 inches. I don't think that's ever going to happen in fantasy, specifically. If you had both, it might be a reason, like you don't want them to have 2 defense rolls, like or +2 to defense. That's insane. So you need to get close enough to make sure that you're at least reducing it to 1. Again, that's just me just saying something. That might be the most broken thing in the world. I mean, obviously it's a third, like you're literally adding a third of your dice roll, 33 point whatever % chance onto your ability to save that. So that is a massive advantage. But something like that, having sturdy on top of shielded, I think would be better. Moving across to knights, which I think is a bit more egregious in the way that it's been put forward, they used to be able to... They used to have built-in Aegis, which was just your 6-up save. So when you get hit, 6-up save, unless it's a spell, because the knights are specifically have... they're supposed to be the Grey Knights from, well, the equivalent. So they're, demon hunters, so they're supposed to be harder to kill with spells. So it's a 2-up save if it's a spell, or it's a 6+ save if it's just a regular weapon. They used to have that on top of regeneration. So you would, with your defense roll, if you failed that, you'd then roll regeneration for a 5/6, and then you would then roll Aegis if you failed that, and hope that Aegis saves you. They're expensive units. They're 50 points for the base unit. 50 points. Before adding anything else onto them, that's a lot of points to have on your field. Generally speaking, I can run 4 units for 300 points. That's not many. That's a very low model count, and is a big pain. I've played them a lot, and I love them, but they're a big pain. Because you also want to be able to give them things like teleport, which is, how you move them around and whatnot, which is an extra 15 points per model. Except now they've removed both regeneration and Aegis, and given them... What did I write down? Nightborn, which is just Aegis. Why have we just renamed Aegis? That doesn't really seem to make any sense. I know there was previous versions where they had a token and they could do it once per game, which is so bad, especially when you count on the fact that their points haven't been reduced. They still cost exactly the same amount. They're still a 50 cost base unit. They've just lost regeneration now. Now you have to take a medic and give everyone regeneration, which costs an extra 15 points. But they still cost the same. So you can't take that. Like, if I have to have only 3 units on the field just so I can now have regeneration. I don't understand that at all. It just seems weird. I mean, again, we're still in the beta, so things are still changing, but that hasn't changed in a little while. So that worries me, that instead of just giving everyone a unique thing and adding on to what I thought was already going to be established rules, we're removing stuff and then giving stuff back in that is worse. Or, I mean, in both those examples, I'd say both those things are worse. They're taking away, in the Knights, taking away regeneration, but they're still costing the same amount. That model is just statistically worse now for that point value. Or in the Dwarf, it's the same thing, but more complicated, but then also worse as soon as someone gets into charging distance. So, both worse. What I was expecting when I was hearing about all this is that we were going to get super unique things for each faction. Obviously, my brain goes, oh, we can do all these different things. I don't know if it was actually something that was put in, or if someone just mentioned this, but I saw someone talking about the undead faction having the ability to use ambush units anytime they want. Because it just, thematically, a guy's coming back from the dead, and you can just lift him up from underneath the ground and start attacking with him in that same round. That's really cool. I thought that was a really cool idea. Why aren't we doing that? Why? Because I looked at them and I'm like, it doesn't seem to be what they have, But why aren't we doing stuff like that? Why are we just taking rules away and then making them worse? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's my little complaint over, I guess. Yeah, I was really hoping for more. I guess, like, obviously I don't expect it to be super duper complicated for every little thing, and I don't think we needed to do every single faction all at the same time. You could have done something like six factions at the beginning, just, whatever the most played factions are, or the most, the favorite factions, and just give them something unique, and then just add on as time goes. It's the same way that Warhammer gives, their compendiums every so often for each faction. I think that would have been fine, but I feel, considering that this has been talked about by the devs, about the fact that they've been thinking about this for years, and it's in this state now, while still ongoing, I'm very aware that it is still ongoing and nothing is set in stone, it feels rushed and a little half-baked, because obviously they've come in with ideas and then people have been so put off, or so, either way, whether it's way too complicated or not complicated enough, there doesn't seem to be a middle ground for the player base. They've just kind of then started going back on some of the stuff that they thought was going to be fine, even though some people liked that, and I'm just worried we're just going to end up with a worse version of one-page rules rather than a better version. So we're not going to get anything new, we're just going to get worse versions of what we already had. And yeah, that worries me, because I really love one-page rules. Like, I really enjoy playing it, and this was something that I was looking forward to. And now that we've got it, seems obviously I'm going to wait and see. This video's getting long. I'm going to wait and see how it keeps going. But yeah, that's my thoughts at the moment. I just wanted something cool, something unique.